Hi guys, I'm here with Steven from the Outpost,
Hello.
right outside of Denver. How are you, Steven?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited. I'm a big fan of the channel, and this is a dream come true for me. I'm not gonna lie.
Wow, this is that's crazy. If anybody ever says that, I always am surprised that people even know who I am.
Yeah.
So I see some great guitars. Let's start with that on your back wall. Uh,
Yeah.
they're unusual.
Yeah. So a couple of them are Fenders. So right over here, I don't know if you want me to grab them or I can just point to them, but
At this point,
right here, I've got a Fender Mustang 90. A number of years ago, just got really into P90 pickups and just kind of the way they kind of get that a little extra grit to them if I want to have a little bit more distortion. Next to it here, not the most surfy looking color, being a black Strat, but a Fender Strat's just it's what I learned how to play electric guitar on. So the Strat's always been in the arsenal. Um, I've been thinking about selling it. I've been thinking about not selling it. Great guitar. It's a 1980s made in Japan, 1962 reissue. Sweet guitar.
I'll buy it.
A number of years ago, I got into building some instruments. Bass is actually my number one instrument these days. So I've got this Seafoam Green P bass, which I actually built. I bought a body and a neck off of Warmouth that were completely raw. Did a nitro finish on the body, gunstock oil on the neck. Played around with a bunch of different pickups in them. It's got some G&L pickups in there, SB1 pickups in there. And then the next one over here is a Music Master kind of build that I put together with just some parts and stuff lying around. And it's been a lot of fun to play a little bit of short scale bass, and you get a little bit of different tones. So yeah, some
Yeah.
fun guitars. I've got a Supro 1600 Supreme amp, and then I'm a big Ampeg guy. It's not the most traditional surf amp, but I've got a Galleon Kruger head with a Ampeg SBT 410 cab.
Awesome. Awesome. I could tell that maybe not your main instrument, but you were definitely a bass player by the music I was listening to.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
was definitely more involved than I'm used to hearing in surf music.
Yeah.
So tell me about what brought this all about. You playing surf music. Are you a one-man band right now?
I'm a one-man band. This is kind of a project. I play in an indie pop band on the side, which I actually do play bass and sing and a little bit of synth stuff in. But gosh, I was born in Colorado, but when I was about a year old, we moved to Southern California. So I grew up in Southern California for about 10 years. And then in the mid 90s, we ended up moving back to Colorado. So I'm in Littleton, which is a suburb of Denver, and pretty much been here since then. But love the beach growing up.
Yeah.
Uh, and after moving out here, my grandparents, they lived in Hawaii half the time. So we would go visit Hawaii almost every other
Wow.
year growing up. So definitely a privilege to have that opportunity. So just kind of the culture of that kind of started things out. They used to do these things in Hawaii, and I don't know if they still do. It's been a while. Actually, we just booked a trip today to go back to Hawaii to take the family. So I'm pretty excited about
Nice.
that. But they used to do these movie and concerts on the beach in Honolulu.
Oh
And there was always
wow.
a lot of good surf music and ukulele players and stuff like that, which were just super cool to see every time we would go out there. So I think that's kind of where the start of liking of surf music began. And then in gosh, probably the late 90s, we saw the Beach Boys, and that was kind of a big thing. It was probably like a certain anniversary tour. They put this pavilion thing up in the parking lot of our hockey rink here in Colorado. It was during the summer, and saw the Beach Boys, and I think that was really the big kind of draw to more to surf music at that point. I'll say Beach Boys over Beatles any day. I don't care what anybody says. I will say the Beach Boys every time. And then grew up playing punk music, and kind of the punk and surf just kind of always had that line in together. And I just always really liked these surfy riffs. And a number of years ago, I went to Santa Cruz, and we went to the boardwalk, and just the music there was just all this surf music. And that was really the kind of kickstart of me writing surf music, other than
Yeah.
like punk and different kind of genres.
This is probably why
And
you
then
named your album Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz, yeah, my wife and I actually went on our honeymoon to Santa Cruz. Just a super cool place. Um, that was the big inspiration behind the beginning of just writing surf music on my own. And kind of COVID let me dive into this whole world of SG 101 and all these different things, discovering all these music. Um, I'm pretty sure I spent 90% of my listening last year to the High Tide, just total catalog kind of coming
Yeah,
out as
right.
well. And just discovering more and more surf music. My coworkers are starting. I have one coworker, she's starting to get really into surf music as well. She's been probably one of the biggest supporters outside of my family of the surf music and whatnot. She actually 3D printed me. I don't have it yet, but 3D printed me a giant flamingo to put in my studio.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, so I'm
Black
excited.
flamingos.
Yeah, black flamingos are a huge fan. So
Wow, that's so awesome. I used to live in with my wife in Salinas, California,
okay, nice.
which is about, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes from Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
So we used to go there once a weekend. We go one day to Monterey, to Carmel, and then we go one day to Santa Cruz. And they had the Catalyst and Staircase Records, and then Staircase Tattoo. That's where I used to get tattooed. And then
Awesome.
what was the record shop there? Streetlight.
Streetlight, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, I love Santa Cruz. And
Yeah.
when I saw that on there, I said, okay, we're gonna have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. I've only been twice, but definitely a huge fan. I grew up in Southern California in the Garden Grove, Anaheim area, so I could see fireworks from Disneyland from my bedroom. But
Oh, nice.
love the love California. Northern California is definitely a different state than Southern California.
Yeah.
And I think if I were to ever move back to California, Santa Cruz is probably the only place that I could.
Yeah, there's so much, like, it's not that big, but there's so much there.
Yeah, yeah,
There's
definitely.
and like going out in the pier, watching people surf, and
Yeah.
it's like another planet.
Yeah, it's a cool little culture. I kind of equate it. We got a city here in Colorado called Boulder. It's a college town, and that's kind of what Santa Cruz kind of vibes me like. You can pretty much walk anywhere you want to, or hit a bus if you want to get anywhere. So it's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
pretty small place.
You see Santa Cruz, it's like down that hill in the woods.
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
I have a buddy who has a cabin out in Boulder Creek in the redwoods up there. So we've stayed up there a couple of times, and just a quick little half-hour drive into Santa Cruz. But it's crazy that you can have these mountains here, but then you can also have the beach just right there
yeah. I
next.
know, I know.
Cool hiking if you're into that, but then you also get the beach and the great food and some good breweries around there as well.
Yeah,
So
totally.
yeah.
So let's talk about your EP, Santa Cruz. Tell me about, was that a COVID album? Or how did it come about?
Yeah, it was definitely it was something that was actually planned before COVID. And then as soon as we kind of went into lockdown, we didn't really know obviously what it was going to be like. I started working from home at a job I was at before for a couple of weeks, which ended up turning into, a year and a half of being at home the whole time. And unfortunately, I didn't really take the time that I could have just being home. I was actually working from in my studio here. So, like, I had a lot of time that I could, and I didn't really take advantage of it at the beginning of COVID. I did. What's funny is the artwork and the album name for Santa Cruz probably came up the summer of 2020. And then the writing and recording of it wasn't really a big push until last summer. So it was about a year later or 2 years
Okay.
later before I actually dove in and kind of decided this is what I wanted to do. I'd been experimenting around with a lot of different like surf tunes and listening to a lot of surf music, and really with a punk background, kind of intertwining the two together. I'd played electric guitar in a lot of ironically, I've played electric guitar in a lot more bands than I played bass in. And it always seems like you're always struggling to find a bass player, but the
Yeah.
band I was in always struggled to find a second electric guitar player or something like that. We always had bass players. So I actually ended up being the guy settling to play electric guitar instead of bass. So it definitely helped with a lot of the writing and riffs and stuff like that. But Gosh, a lot of bands that I had listened to just were pretty heavy on some of those bass riffs, and it just made me kind of want to play more of lead guitar on a bass guitar, which was the big inspiration for a lot of the songs in Santa Cruz. I think every single song on that EP, the bass line was written first, and everything was kind of built around the bass line.
Yeah,
So
they were really good bass lines, very prominent.
yeah, and that's just kind of a thing, and it's pretty simple setup to kind of go through, and it was I don't know, I think I spend more time just playing on the bass than I do on any other instrument, so it was just natural to go in there and build that foundation with bass, and then putting drums in, and you know, electric kind of came in later to add a lot of the flavor, to kind of
Yeah.
spice some things up. And I did a lot of sampling. One of the songs on there, Rainforest, I was really, gosh, I was probably listening to the Minicuras a lot
Oh yeah.
when that song was kind of in the reps, because they use a lot of cool percussion instruments and stuff like that, and that's where a lot of the hand drums, and I was just trying to borrow stuff from buddies. But I think my favorite element that I did on there is I couldn't find like a ratchet, like a wood ratchet that anybody I knew had. I guess I could have gone to like a local drum shop and bought one and whatnot, but I actually went out to my garage and grabbed a socket wrench, which I actually still have on my desk here, and kind of
Oh,
did some
nice.
of that. And then I actually pitch shifted it an octave lower to get it to kind of the sound that I was going for. So it was definitely a lot of fun to just kind of experiment with a lot of stuff other than what I was used to of guitar, bass, drums. I'm not much of a keys player, but kind of playing around with some keys and stuff like that. So it was
Right.
really a good chance for me to play around and kind of bring my own vibe to
Yeah.
to some surf music and from my experiences. And um, the song Santa Cruz, the self-titled song track, was definitely just solely inspired by the being on the boardwalk in Santa Cruz and just the music there, and watching people surf and good food. I think it's, what's it called? Is it Penny Ice Creamery down the street there? I think is what it's called. But yeah, just that kind of really inspired that one. And then Coast to Coast was kind of a mesh up of like an East Coast style music versus a West Coast style, with like verses being more darker and
Yeah.
something that I would expect from music coming maybe out of more like New York and Brooklyn and stuff like that.
A lot
And
of
then
keys in that one.
yeah, and then keys, and then kind of having that super surfy riff and the choruses. Um, so it was just kind of a lot of playing around with sampling, and I've always been a guy who just captures noises on the voice memos of my phone. So I was able to kind of drop in. We were in New York about a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago, 2021. So I had some samples of like traffic and taxis and stuff like that kind of
Oh,
going in
nice.
there, and was kind of like, all right, I'm going to do something a little bit different on this track to kind of do that. So
So a lot of I know when I was in bands, there was when you go to start writing, there's that one thing that inspires you to go writing. You hear a certain album, you hear a certain
yeah,
band or song. Uh, what was the catalyst for you?
um, I don't know that there was an album for the song Santa Cruz other than just the series. It's like the city, and honestly, it was the boardwalk and the rides and stuff there, and the music kind of playing there was just kind of here's the vibe I kind of got from that. That track was actually written a couple of years ago, like right after that bass line got written, right after I got back from Santa Cruz. So that was actually kind of the initial thing, was the boardwalk there. Um, Coast to Coast, there's a band. They're more of a surf punk band with vocals and stuff like that, but they've kind of got this psyche side of them. They're called the Gloomies, based out of New York City. I think he's maybe he's bounced back and forth between San Diego and New York. It's just one guy. Cool story enough with that. The Mustang actually used to belong to him, and I had seen him play it on a video once upon a time, and had been kind of interested in the guitar, saw one on reverb.com and was like, hey, it's also in New York. It could maybe be this guy's, and just sent a message. Sure enough, it was that guitar. So like he's actually used this on some tours and some recordings and stuff like that. So the vibe of Coast to Coast was definitely that vibe. And then Rainforest was gosh, a good 6 months of listening to everything that I could think of surf wise, to kind of get that more experimental. I think Manicoras was probably one of the more heavier ones I was listening to when I started writing that track. But that one actually, that song came together really quick. I'm pretty sure from writing to recording and mixing, that thing was done in like the matter of like 2.5 days. So
Wow.
so yeah, that one came pretty good together. And I've always struggled writing vocals and stuff like that. I think surf music was really kind of the natural go-to on writing, and doing instrumental doesn't mean I'll never do any vocals on any tracks. I may throw something out there once or twice if I feel like something needs a little bit of vocals. I like the use like of Black Flamingos does some kind of talking in different aspects in some of their songs, but and there's definitely plenty of surf bands out there that do full instrumental, and some that do full vocals, and some that have a little mix of both. So I don't want to limit anything, but surf is kind of the vibe. I wear Hawaiian shirts all the time. If I'm not wearing a plain black t-shirt, I'm usually wearing a Hawaiian shirt. If I am in Colorado, so there's flannels as well when it gets a little bit colder. But
well, even the Volcanics and Surfer Joe
yeah,
have vocals
they
as
do.
some
Yes,
point.
actually,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I was lucky enough to see Surfer Joe 3 times.
Oh,
And only one time did he play the tune with the vocals.
yeah,
But I think it's really, really fun because
yeah,
traditional surf sound with vocals,
yeah.
which is pretty outstanding, I think.
Yeah, Surfer Joe, he's definitely a big guy I look up to as well. I've actually been in communication with him recently too. He was working on his upcoming tour, and we were hoping to try to lock something in, him coming to Colorado. I'm unfortunately out of town. I'm going to be on a cruise ship while he's in town here, or in this side of the United States. Some of the venues just weren't really lining up. Surf's a little bit of a challenging style to sell here in Colorado. There's definitely some surf bands that will play at a lot of cool places, and there's some tiki bars around town, but I'm really hoping that this year's the year I can kind of bring some surf music into there. And he's definitely somebody I would love to see live, whether it's going out to surf guitar convention or traveling somewhere where he's playing at some point. There's just so many bands that unfortunately don't come to Colorado because there's not really a big surf scene here. So, I'm hoping to get to go see some of those guys, and honestly get some friends together and go play with some of these guys anywhere. So, but man, just it's probably what's on my rotation is surf music 90% of the time. There's a few other things that kind of go through, but that's what I'm
this interview will be out in April.
Yeah.
Tell me from April on, your summer. What's your spring and summer going to be like? Are you gonna write some more music? Are you looking to get a band, like a full band, and go out and play?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the next few months up until summer is definitely going to be a lot of time just writing some more tunes, and maybe learning some good covers to have to be able to play some shows. I've got a lot of connections with a lot of venues around Denver, so I can definitely get some shows. I know of some other local surf bands, so I'm trying to kind of put some stuff together there. I do play in another band as well, so there's a lot of writing and production kind of going on over there. But some of my best friends are already ready to play with me. So
awesome.
I've already got a buddy lined up to play drums. I've got a buddy I haven't decided in a live setting playing electric guitar or bass guitar yet. That's something I haven't really determined yet. So I've got a buddy who can play both, who will be kind of joining. It'll probably be more of a 3-piece. Maybe ask another friend to come play keys or something like that on some of the tracks that do have some kind of organ and Fender Rhodes kind of style
Yeah.
sounds on there. But yeah, they'll definitely be that. That's a goal for summer to kind of get some stuff up there. If anybody has connections to, I'm going to be in Hawaii at the end of the summer, so it would be pretty sweet to be able to find some local musicians who could learn some of my tracks or something like that and play at a somewhere out there, you know, try to knock another state off the list of states I've played in, which is not very large at this point yet. So, but you know, definitely some live stuff coming out in the summer. I know there's a lot of festivals and conferences and stuff like that. So I think just the next couple months, getting more music out there and then getting more on the radar. You know, the music industry has really changed a lot since I'm 37, almost 38 now. When I was in high school, it was all about playing live shows, getting experience. And now there's really more of an online presence of music, and it's really just getting more music out there. I've been fortunate enough to have some of the surf radio drip feed and stuff like that play some of my songs on there as well. It's really cool when I'm just sitting there and I'm listening to one of those radio stations and a track comes out and I'm like, what the heck? Like, this is my song. It's on surf radio.
Wow.
It's a pretty cool and exciting feeling for someone who's especially newer to playing within the genre, but been listening for a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah. And Bandcamp is a super, I don't know. It's like a spreader. It spreads your music out there.
It does.
Like,
Yeah.
like with the community, and everybody who wants to hear your music can click the link in the description and go right to your Bandcamp page. You know, it creates your own email list.
Yep.
There's community, like there's certain people like DJ Dotty from
Yeah.
GTF, who just does searches and
Yeah.
finds these bands before the bands even know they're on the radio. She's got you on the radio.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is amazing. But yeah, I mean, people are actively searching for surf bands, and
Yeah.
you're gonna be found eventually, I think.
Yeah. No, and I'm very excited for people to hear the music. It's what I love to do, honestly, playing. So it's my creative entity, my creative passion. I think the Outpost will, I don't know if it'll ever evolve to being more members in the writing process or if it'll always just be me kind of writing through there. Maybe have some friends come over and track some other instruments and stuff like that. But as of right now, it's just a me thing and on the writing process, but that could change at any point, you know. So
Awesome. Well, thank you, Stephen, for being on the show.
yeah.
I want to mention the link in the description will have a link right to the Outpost Bandcamp page, and also cool merch for anybody who wants Ply Records merch. The link's in the description. I encourage you to listen to this. I always love when people put music out when they, even if they don't have the band members right away, they have a solid idea and they just create. Like, just being a creative person is very interesting for me.
Yeah. I'm creative in pretty much every endeavor of my life. So whether it's building something, the desk that I'm sitting at here, I built myself. I actually finished my whole basement, built out my studio, which was a creative endeavor on its own. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Stephen. Good luck in the spring and summer, and I hope you find the right people in your band to be that everything clicks and you maybe even get a creative boost out of it. And thank you for watching. You know, when people support me, I'm always so grateful.
No, and thank you so much for having me on here. This is really an honor. I've definitely watched ton of your videos, and to be on one is definitely a dream come true.
Oh man, that's great. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you.